and welcome to another episode of the Influential Nonprofit. It's me, Marianne, your host. As you know, I work with nonprofit leaders to master the art of influence so they can ask for and receive all they want, need, and deserve in a way that's joyful, fun, aligned, and easy. And I'm having so much fun working with individuals, with CEOs, executive directors, development directors, watching them grow and raise more money and do it in a way that is so joyful and authentic. And I am excited to have my new friend Rhonda Travers here because we're going to talk about volunteerism. And I don't think I've ever talked about volunteerism, or I haven't in a long time, on the Influential Nonprofit. And talking about how we can attract and retain volunteers, because that is so important to creating the community of support that we all want. So welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
All right, and you and I met at National Speakers Association a couple of months ago, and I was so excited. We're in St. Louis, and I had not been to NSA locally for a couple of years, and I was just absolutely blown away by all the people I met, you included. And I said, come be on my podcast. All right. And before we get into donor retention and all that good stuff, I always start with the same question, which is, tell me something you're proud of that you don't get to brag about a lot.
Oh my goodness. What am I proud of? I'm proud that I pursued my passion and aligned my passion with my purpose and left a 30-year corporate career to launch my own business 3 years ago. And we get so busy in everyday life that sometimes we forget to pause and celebrate things like, oh, wow, I actually am doing this. I did this, I am doing this. And I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I did the big brave thing, Yay, good for you. And I would love to know, because you said you've worked in corporate, but you work with businesses and nonprofits to increase engagement, retention, and productivity. And you've been doing this for 30 years. You have your tons of training, consulting, speaking. So you have massive, massive expertise to share. And I want to tap into, so why do you love working with nonprofits, and why did you want your business to not just help businesses, but nonprofit businesses as well?
There's so many different reasons. The biggest thing is I have a heart for nonprofits because you're serving the community in so many different ways. And yes, across the board, everyone is under-resourced and looking for talent, but nonprofits especially, you are especially not under-resourced. And I have been part of, getting involved with different nonprofits and community work when I was a kid, but it really, really resonated me starting in college because I was part of Alpha Phi Omega. Do you know what Alpha Phi Omega is?
I don't think I do.
It is a service fraternity for men and women. And so every semester we had to have service hours. And so I got to explore a lot of different things that were in the community and sign up for different initiatives. I learned that a blood drive does not suit me. But so you learn about what things, long story, won't go into that one. But it really explored a different aspect early in my adulthood. So then fast forward into my corporate career, we get busy. And a friend of mine invited me to an event. And it was it was a luminary event for the American Cancer Society. And at the time, cancer had really touched my family. I had lost loved ones, my aunts, my uncles, to various forms of cancer. And we were also experiencing at the time, my 2-year-old nephew had been diagnosed with cancer and going through treatment. And so that hit a heart chord for me. And after that experience, she asked for feedback afterwards. And she said, would you like to get more involved? And I had some ideas about, wow, this really touched me. And gosh, I do have some ideas. All right, how do I get involved? And for 15 years, I led volunteer leadership roles within Relay for Life. And that really, really that really was the trajectory around my commitment to help the community and get involved. And you just don't know what you don't know. And so I really want to help those nonprofits of what you don't know, because you rely so much on your volunteers, and seeing that firsthand and managing a signature fundraiser for a large nonprofit and dealing with not numerous volunteers to achieve a goal and a fundraising goal, that's a huge experience. And I want to take that experience and help other nonprofits, because your volunteers help you achieve your mission. And so retaining those volunteers is so important. And I digress here, but that's why I'm so passionate, is because it pulled on my heartstring, over 19 years ago. And it just, I see the inner workings of what is needed for volunteers. And I've just been a part of different nonprofits along the way, different boards. And right now, when I launched my business, that is the heart of my mission, is to help nonprofits with their people, and their people include volunteers.
They're volunteers. So you said, we don't know what we don't know, which is true. So what don't we know? Right? Like, what aren't we doing? Like, someone's doing it wrong. No, what, what do you see people doing that is not in their best interest? Because they just don't know yet.
Well, a lot of it goes back down to 4 core human needs. And it could be how to engage employees, but in the nonprofit space, it's how to engage your volunteers. And the first one is around that flexibility. Who has heard of the Great Resignation and people wanting to work from home and remote working? I'm sure we've all heard about that. So you're dealing with volunteers now who are used to working remotely, used to having meetings remotely. And if they're asked to help with with a nonprofit, what kind of flexibility do you have with those roles so that they can maintain that flexibility? Do you have those roles where you need someone with social media so that you can just give them the information any time of the day, and if they want to do that at midnight, they can, because it's a virtual role,
right?
Versus those point in time roles where actually, you're asking someone to help out a day of the event. Because what's going to happen in today's world? We are so full of overcommitted schedules. Think about all the technology we have going on right now. We're all back after the past 4 years, back to our normal crazy schedules, right? So if you ask someone to volunteer and you say, hey, can you volunteer for us? But there's not a clear identification of those roles. What are they going to say? Oh, I don't have time, right? How many times have you asked someone to do something and your response, Marianne, is, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time, right? So if you can offer flexibility of, hey, well, we have this event. It's, we need help for about 12 hours. Would you be able to help for 4 hours or 6 hours? So those types of things, thinking around that flexibility.
Yeah.
Really,
and I
really
always
important.
say people make time for what's important.
Yes.
Like, oh, I don't have, well, yeah, true. So there's I believe in abundance, and I believe there's an abundance of time, and that we see time linearly, and we think time is linear. I'm going to get a little weird on you. But time really isn't linear. And there's a principle called, it's called Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law means that work expands or contracts. Do you know this? Do you know Parkinson's law?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. To fit the time allotted, right? And
exactly.
So you could, if you have 30 minutes, it'll take 30 minutes. If you have 2 weeks, it'll take 2 weeks. And like, I remember, before I started my business, like 2017, 2016, I struggled for 2 years to write a book. And then I found a book writing coach. And I was like, oh, all of a sudden, guess who found time to write a book in 9 months? Because we make time for what's important, right? And so for me, it's the flexibility that can help you, it can work more into your life. But also, I feel like the other thing is, I'm going to go where I feel valued. I may be moving off your 4 pillars, but I'm going to go where I feel valued, right? And where I feel important. And I will make time for things that make me feel important.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's the second core need. People want to feel appreciated.
Yeah.
I just did a Travers Tuesday tip on that on LinkedIn yesterday, is people want to feel appreciated. Those who feel appreciated will always go the extra mile. And it goes back to volunteers. They are choosing to spend time with your organization and your nonprofit. So they're choosing to spend their personal time outside their professional world, all the caregiving needs that they have, all the things to spend time because they believe in your cause. So it's so important to show what is that appreciation. And it goes beyond a thank you. A thank you is a great start, but I inform folks, keep it sincere and specific.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, thanks for your hard work. Oh gosh, thank you so much for going above and beyond and finding that corporate sponsorship. Because of that, we got our dinner funded for our survivors. And so, that's really going to help with the fundraising goal and it's going to meet our fundraising needs. It's that specific, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be a big announcement. It could be a card. Would you like to get a nice handwritten card in the mail?
Yeah.
I know I would. I just got one in the mail for doing a speaking presentation last week. People love mail. That's not a bill. And so it's those simple forms of appreciation, to thank your volunteers and have a plan around that. Recognize their birthdays, thank them for, letting them know we've really reached our fundraising goal and we wouldn't not have been able to do it without you. So appreciation is so critical.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. What is the third one?
That people want to be informed. So how are you keeping your volunteers informed about not only what's happening, but what's their role? If you're asking them to be a volunteer for your organization, do they understand the various roles and what they need to do with those roles? What kind of information are you giving them up front? And then how are you keeping them informed ongoing? So, for example, if you do have meetings, are they virtual, are they in person? But think about your volunteers are probably in meetings all day long for their business or for their professional responsibilities. So how can you make a meeting not only functional but fun? Because we're all in meetings all day, right? How many meetings have you been in already today, Marianne?
Right.
I've been in a few. So, how can you make it functional and fun for your volunteers? And then also, what other channels are you using? Because, if you're putting all your eggs in one basket and only emailing and keeping your volunteers informed and communicating with them in an email, they're also looking at their work emails all day long. That might not be their go-to on their personal time to check their personal emails. And therefore, they're probably not getting something from you. And now there's a gap. There's that gap of engagement.
Right.
So, do you have social media channels, texting, different things like that to keep everyone informed? Because, everyone has a go-to. Do you have that friend that you might email them? Because, I work in a couple different leadership roles right now with teams of volunteers, and I have a team of 20. And I'll send an email because it's the monthly email with a lot of different updates on it. But then I also have to text them to say, please check your
email.
Because, we're inundated. Think of all the different ways someone can communicate with you. And they're busy during the day with their professional responsibilities. So how else are you keeping them informed that's going to match what their communication preferences are?
Okay. I love that. That's wonderful. And just like having more than one way, right?
Yes.
So there's a backup instead of like they didn't see that email, then they're lost. Okay. And then
Exactly.
what's the fourth?
Now, this acronym is FAIR, but so work with me on the R here. It's empowered. The R is empowered. And people want to be empowered. And it goes back to, Marianne, what you said before, and that is the belief in the mission. People are going to be more likely to stay with you and be engaged with you if they understand your mission as a nonprofit and their role in that mission and achieving that mission. And they want to be empowered to make a difference in today's world. I mean, we all want to make a difference. So do you understand why your volunteers are joining? Like with my example from 20 years ago, I became a volunteer leader for 15 years because I believed in the cause. It was personal for me. Cancer impacted my family. So that truly, going back to time, you mentioned time. We're going to make time for things that are very, that we're passionate about, that we believe in. And so, do you understand why your volunteers joined you and what's motivating them to stay with you?
Right.
Because the more that they can you can understand why they joined you, and you can help them, keeping them informed about your mission and how their role impacts your ability to achieve your mission, they're going to be more engaged. They're going to be wanting to stay with you. And it goes back to your mission and their why. And are those aligned?
Yes.
And if you can, and you find that's the perfect sweet spot right there.
I
And
love
that's
that you said
empowering.
that, because that is the basis of everything that I work with people on. Is I can't make somebody care. That's not my job. So for instance, in your story, like you were personally affected by cancer, and then you had it developed, it grew a passion in you, and like that came from you, from like your lived experience. And as much as in nonprofits, we want to believe that with the right words or the right marketing, we can make somebody care. I don't think that is not what I have seen to be true in my millions of years of doing this. But what you are doing is saying, hey, if this is something you care about, this is what we do. Let's connect. Let's form a partnership, right? And in the sense of, where you can invest, your time, your money, whatever. So in your story, it's like, it's not trying to get somebody to care that doesn't care. It's finding those people who have that connection and
Exactly.
inviting them in to your community. And, and I was just thinking about, like I work with Annie's Hope. They provide grief support for kids. And, people find Annie's Hope a lot of ways. It's not always that somebody, a child they know lost a loved one. It can be like a really good, like, oh, a friend of mine was on the junior board there for years, but it was because she was invited in by a friend and she really loved that friend, and then kind of just fell in love with the mission. But in the sense of like allowing that organic relationship, that alignment to happen. Wait, I can't make you care. You know what I'm saying? But and so I love, we're just looking for that good match.
Mhm.
Okay, I did a workshop yesterday. Was that yesterday? It was yesterday. I did a workshop yesterday. And this woman's like, we really want corporate partners, but a lot of them they want like episodic volunteering for their employees. And that's just not something we have or can do. And then I think about, oh, I guess I could create something, but I really don't want to. And I said, what? Don't do that. I said, don't do, because it's like you don't have to make yourself different. You know what I mean? Like finding the right partnership doesn't require you to change. Or, so you're just contriving something to create this relationship, because not everybody is going to have, right, like what you're looking for. In the same way of volunteering, if a corporation is looking for episodic volunteering, not every organization is going to be able to do that, nor should they. You know what I'm saying? And like, so it's like finding that good fit. What kind of opportunities do you have? What does my life look like? How can those two things intertwine? But I still believe, Rhonda, when somebody tells you, I don't have time, what they're really saying is that's not important enough to me to make the time to do it. And
Exactly.
I mean, if you're flexible, adaptable, informative and empowering, that's raising the stakes a lot, that people will make time for your organization because they feel like what they does matter. Because bottom line, if they feel like they don't feel like it matters, they're not going to do it.
Exactly. And millennials, they are 5.3 times more likely to stay with an organization, either as an employee or as a volunteer, if they understand your vision, your mission, and how they align to make an impact there. And then it goes back to appreciation. If you are feeling like you are no longer valued, that the time that you are doing, the time and the talent that you are donating to a particular nonprofit, if you're not feeling like you're valued, that's going to be demotivating, and they're going to seek another place where there's alignment, but then also where they're feeling like they're making a difference.
Yeah.
And so, it's such importance to really acknowledge your volunteers. And I know April is a Global Volunteer Month. So there's,
Ah,
definitely, so different things to show that appreciation. Just goes back to appreciation. And, having a getting to know you sheet with your volunteers, where maybe they talk about their favorite candy bar or their favorite music, or, different things like that. And why are they interested in joining? Some are maybe doing that for, they want to work on their leadership skills, or that, they're really wanting to get involved with different things, different roles and aspects of your nonprofit. Gathering all that information is going to help you then with how you are going to engage to retain your
yeah,
volunteers.
yeah, I love that. I foster. I'm not right now because my dog. I adopted this dog, and he's on no less than 3 medications for
Oh
anxiety.
my, wow.
But
Oh goodness.
but we foster puppies for stray rescue, and I've always just, that was my volunteer. I foster, and I didn't want to do a leadership role. I didn't want to be, very very early in the organization, like 25 years ago. I did a bunch of stuff, but I just want to get my puppy, get it adopted, and go get another one. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I am fine with that, and I think it's like, and the organization knows that, like, here's what I do. This is my job. I like my job. I do my job. I'm happy with that job. Um, and if I came and said, "Hey, I'd love to like get involved," like, yeah, yeah, great. But you know what? That's my role, and I feel, I think this organization, because I'm on the recipient, like you, that lived experience, does a really good job of making people feel appreciated and making them feel connected to the mission. And also, it's just the instant result of, getting a sad dog, and then they feel better, and then they get adopted, and you're like, that was awesome. I'm gonna go do that again.
And see that, and that's what's motivating you. But had they given you a different role and not taken the time to really understand you and why you want to get involved, and say they put you in a different role, do you think you would have stayed very long?
Right. Or like, or if I wanted to go into leadership, but I just, I felt sidelined or something. There's a lot of reasons why people get involved, like you said, areas of growth, connection, and to give back. You're like you were mentioning, like social media, like to be able to give back and share some skills that they have, that they want to share with people. I always look at it as, when I'm a value to you, I know you'll be a value to me. So
Mhm.
how can I help people feel seen, heard, understood, valuable? And if you do that, and I like your that 4-step method to do that. Okay, I want to talk really quickly. Maybe you could just drop a nugget here about how we talk about retaining people. How do you find volunteers?
I mean, a couple different ways, but the main way is through your own team of volunteers. It's a grassroots effort,
Gotcha.
because look at your top performing volunteers. So say, for example, you've got your nonprofits, you have, maybe fundraising events where you have different teams that are raising different, levels of money. So take your top performers there and, ask them, who do you know that would also believe and support our mission, that are, similar to why you're supporting our mission. There's a reason why you're supporting our mission. So
Right.
just looking into your own pool in your backyard of the talented individuals. School programs, like I mentioned, Alpha Phi Omega. There are certain chapters close by to here that, they are college students that are seeking volunteer hours. And what a wonderful platform to introduce college students to the importance of servant leadership and giving back to the community. But then also at the high school level, you've got your A+ programs, and you've got other programs where high school students are, exposed to service and community hours and things like that. So, that would be another way to recruit.
I love it. Awesome. Okay. So how do you work with organizations? You provide training? Is it consulting? What does working with you look like?
Well, I offer three different levels of service. One is speaking engagements. So if you have an event that you would need an expert to come in and share some insight, I do that through speaking engagements. I also offer training workshops, and they could either be in person or virtual, anywhere from a 90-minute workshop all the way up to a full day workshop. And then lastly, I provide HR business consulting services, where I'll come in and help you through how to create success for your people, not only for your volunteers, but for your employees as well. Everything just starts with a simple scheduling of a virtual consultation with me, just to understand what is your pain point as it relates to people, as it relates to your volunteers. What's your challenge? What challenge are you facing right now? And we'll spend 30 minutes exploring and brainstorming some solutions and what might make the most sense, if it does, to continue the conversation.
Awesome. Okay, and that link is in the show notes. So if you want to get in touch with Rhonda, you can, and she has her LinkedIn and her website, and there's a contact form on the website, right? And we're encouraging folks to reach out and contact you. And I know you have a workshop coming up, and unfortunately, this podcast won't make it in time for that. But you said you had something coming up in August, right? So if people are interested in the volunteering workshop, like in August, if they reach out to you, they can get on that list or get in the loop on that.
Yes, I offer webinars and workshops about once a quarter right now. And so I've done one already on volunteer engagement. Next one is on volunteer risk. And so in August, I'll be doing the relationship between your executive director and your board chair, and that dynamic relationship that's so necessary to collaborate with.
That's a juicy one.
To achieve your mission.
All right.
Yes.
That sounds like incredible content. So again, their links are in the show notes. Feel free to grab and reach out. And you are active on LinkedIn. You do the hashtag Travers Tuesdays. Did I get that right?
It's hashtag Travers Tuesday tip.
Travers Tuesday tips.
I offer complimentary business tips on Tuesdays.
All right. So you can follow. You are very active on LinkedIn, and you can get in touch with her there as well. Okay. Last question, as always, is, well, we live in the same city, so there's a high probability of this. But if we were ever in the same karaoke bar, which you will find me in them quite frequently, what's your go-to karaoke number, Rhonda, and why?
Oh, what a wonderful question. My favorite band is Journey. And so I can tell anywhere those first piano chords of Don't Stop Believing.
Dun, 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 dun.
I will break out in a song. Don't Stop Believing. It just, there's something about those piano chords that will get you going, and then just all the way up to the chorus.
It's a Gen X siren call, is it not? Our ears just perk up. Yeah, yes. That's a great one too, because everyone sings along and gets into it, no matter the age, I think. So yeah, that's a good one.
It just talks about, don't stop believing in yourself. Yeah. You are all you've got, and you need to believe in what you can achieve. And so it's empowering, and so there's just a lot of motivation behind that.
Love it. Oh, I can, even when you talk about it, I can feel like, ooh, yes. All right, Rhonda, this was wonderful content. Thank you for sharing. Again, if you want to get in touch, the links are in the show notes. You can Rhonda Travers and find her on LinkedIn, Travers Tuesday Tips. I think I love all of those workshops that you talked about. I think would be really valuable for people who want to, up their volunteer engagement. Thanks again for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so glad we connected at NSA,
Me
and I love your mission and how you're serving the nonprofits to provide insight and resources and whatnot. So it is all good. I love the connection.
Thank you. All right, everybody, that's it for me in this episode of the Influential Nonprofit. As always, the link to connect with me is in the show notes if you want to talk more about up-leveling your influence, maximizing how you show up as an influential leader so you can enroll people more easily in your work and build that community of support that you need to move your mission. I am here for you. And that's it for this episode of the Influential Nonprofit. I'll stop it in a second. Oh, there we go.